My name is Alejandra Carreno Garzon, and my course is industrial design. And I'm in final year from Colombia, but I've moved countries 10 times. I'm an international. Yeah, so Meixter is an innovative one-to-one live tutoring platform where it's a single user platform where you can be a teacher or a student and take whichever role you like with a single sign up. And at the same time, with every interaction, so every lesson that you have, it triggers our donation. And we have partnered with either reforestation projects to plant trees. Since I was very little, I've always wanted to be an inventor. But then I thought I wanted to do physics and mechanical engineering when I was doing my international baccalaureate. That's what I wanted to do. So I did high level physics and mathematics. But then I also did art. And for the final year at school, I moved countries. So I had to do all my artwork in like a period of 2 months over winter, which meant that I had to go to school, even when it was Christmas break. So during Christmas holidays, I went from morning to night, and I didn't even realize sometimes I wouldn't eat or anything, not because I didn't want to, but because I was so immersed in the art that I kind of looked outside. I was like, oh, the time has passed. And I realized that I liked it so much that I couldn't just do mechanical engineering. I needed to incorporate the artistic part of it. So that's where I changed from mechanical engineering. I actually took a gap year off, and I chose industrial design because it's what I found the best combination of engineering and arts. I think it's a good course to initiate you on design, to initiate you on the industry and to the different parts, because so when you come in, normally your first year, there's quite a few people, for us, quite a few people is 24 students. But when you go to second year, only normally half of them are not there anymore, whether it's because they dropped out, or it's because they changed to another course, or it's because they didn't pass the units. The reason for this is because in industrial design, you have units that are engineering, you have units that are technical, you have units that are, say, graphic, you have other units that are psychology, physiology. So in order to do the course, you have to be able to tackle all these different aspects. And some people go into the course thinking, oh, it's going to be purely technical. And it's not true. Or it's going to be engineering based, or it's going to be, I'm just going to be drawing 3D sketches or 3D modeling. But in order to be an industrial designer, and it's very similar to product design as well, but in industrial design, we kind of try to push a bit more on the innovation side, the technology and all of that. And it doesn't have to be something that we have to model for a final year, but it's something that we can really push without having to create the whole product. So, but with both of these, you have to be able to incorporate all of the well-rounded learning. And with my course, what I figured is that it's very good at giving you the different aspects, but in snippets. Personally, and this is a feedback that I've given the university as well, I would have really liked to be able to have used the workshops, because that would have allowed me to explore more. And I would have really liked also to have in-depth exploration of more of the 3D programs, because the tangible part that you really use for it is, I mean, when you're learning second year, they give you a little bit, a third year or final year, they give you a bit more, but it doesn't have a recurrent from the beginning, from year one, a recurrent progressive curve that you can really say, like, I've graduated and I know how to model this amazingly. There's a lot of independent learning, which is normal. It's a university, but I think they could push this a bit more, and as well on the side of exploration in terms of creating 3D models and stuff like that as part of the course. Yeah, I didn't do A levels. I did international baccalaureate. So I did higher level mathematics and physics and Spanish and literature, so Spanish first language. And then my standard levels were art, studio art, history, and English first language literature. And I did a seventh subject, French. Yeah, so art, definitely. Physics and mathematics, because I understood the mechanics of things. So for my course, you have to do a unit that is to do with mechanical properties of materials and to do with manufacturing and production. So when you know about the physics behind it, it makes it easier to understand all these different properties that you have to understand. And when it comes to art, definitely for the drawing part, I guess the languages help with not so much the course, but understanding different cultures and understanding and giving yourself a bit of an edge when you go and talk to, say, when I was doing my interviews for the placement year, and now if I'm talking to any employees or anything like that. At the moment, I'm not doing that because I've got my own business that I'm going to launch soon. But when I was talking to people for placement, when I was in my interviews, you could really tell the difference when you start talking about exploration of different languages, different cultures and stuff like that. They kind of like that. So history, I think history is important because it gives you a bit of a context. When you're designing for people, and you're doing your market research, when you know history, it helps you understand the psychology of people. I guess if you did psychology in A levels, it would help. But I think there are a lot of transferable skills that if you pay attention, you can put them into the course that I'm doing. Yeah, so for placement, I tried various options. So I applied to local companies. I also applied to international companies. I did an application to Rolls-Royce in Germany. I got through a couple of stages, but in the end, I didn't continue with it. And then, I don't know, I didn't pass or I didn't continue, I don't know how to say. Looking back, I think I made a couple of mistakes because I could have had a chance there. But I guess at the time, I didn't give the quality that I could have in terms of, so I had a phone interview with the creative director. And he was very keen and he really liked my portfolio. And he told me I need to download it, but I can't download it from your website. So for design, you have to create your own website so you can upload your portfolio and they can see it through there, because they're not going to download things and they're not going to. That's a recommendation I guess I would give for placement students in design or anything like this that requires heavy files. They're not going to download your heavy files and then Dropbox and all of this, because it's going to require a lot of time. So if you have a website or something that you've uploaded it to that is easier to browse through your portfolio, that's quite good. So I had that, but they told me, can you please download it and send it to me? I had an issue with my computer at the time and I couldn't do that. I couldn't get the files to work. And they kind of said, well, send it over like right now, tonight. So I took screenshots, which I knew wasn't the smartest thing, but it was the first thing that I thought could help, because I didn't have the other way wasn't working. So obviously when you send screenshots, it's not going to be the best quality. So I mean, that's one thing, but I don't regret whatever happened at all, because I actually ended up having an interview with a company in China, a design studio, and I ended up going to China for my placement year. So I went to a studio called A Pro, and it's based, the main base is in Hong Kong, but I went to the base where the CEO was, and he's in Chengdu, China. And it was an experience. It was really, really nice. I loved the whole 6 months. I mean, there were a lot of unexpected things that happened. So I had to move like three or four times, because at first I was with a host family, but it was really far from work and it was around Chinese New Year and the host family was very busy. So they were never home. So I didn't really get the benefits of being with a host family. My plan was to be with the host family half the time, 3 months, and then the other 3 months to be on my own, like in my own accommodation. But I ended up just staying for a month because of all these different things. And then in the next accommodation I went to, there was a maintenance problem. So then I had to move to another one. But apart from that, when I went to China, they experienced the cultural differences, where I actually love the experience of learning about Chinese culture. I started learning Mandarin, which is something I don't know if I would have done. I tried to learn a little bit beforehand, but I mean, it's not the same. But now when I was there, it really made me have to learn. I wasn't in a main city. I wasn't in Beijing. I wasn't in Shanghai. And even in those cities, you would think that they would speak a bit more English, and they don't really. So you have to get, in order to get by, you have to learn a little bit. And in the design studio, what I really liked about it is that because it was small, you could really see the process and the progress that your designs would have and the impact. So I was there as a 3D designer, and say there was a moment we were designing gyms, and we did different work with like market research for restaurants. Well, not just market research, we would actually create the branding. And there was another part where they asked me to model a car. It was I remember it was like the Lamborghini SUV, because they needed to create this graphic for a Hong Kong sports car magazine. So they asked me to create that 3D, and I had to do the materials and the look and the studio and everything. And then a 2D artist would go and do all the graphics around. But that was quite nice because then afterwards I got to see the magazine, and it was like that was
thing in there.
Yeah, and then with the gym, they asked me to create the functional part of the gym. And at the time it was being built. So I saw it because I was there for 6 months. I saw it from when it was nothing and they were putting the cement to when you could actually see what I had modeled into the gym. So it was, I guess it's very gratifying to see those things. And so I'm grateful to have been able to have that experience. Starting off with the worst, I guess one of the important things for me was the creation aspect of my degree. So the fact that not everyone who does things that are creative in this sense has the ability to use the workshops. Not that great, I guess. Another thing is, I don't know if this is with all universities, but it's to do with parking. It's a bit crazy, parking in Bournemouth. Yeah, it's if you have a car, make sure you know around, or you ask around where you're going to live, because it's not easy to find parking. Well, parking that you don't have to pay like 70 quid per month. It's I don't personally drive, but I used to have to get help to get into university sometimes. And being able to park somewhere close would have been very, very nice. So actually I ended up being able to have it at the end of last year, but it was kind of like you have to apply to a lot of things, but that's
a process.
Yeah, it's a process. And I understand that not everyone can park there because it's impossible with the amount of students that we have. But it's just, that's one thing that needs a bit more organization, I guess. The best things, there's a lot of great things in Bournemouth. Yeah. So studying at Bournemouth University, I would say the best thing is it is quite international. So you get to see different cultures, speak to different people. So in every course that you go into, you can really see that there's a bit of diversity. I can also say that it tries to create a lot of events, and it's quite cool because the city we live in, it's because the university has different campuses. It allows it so that it can utilize the city to create these events. And I guess one thing I would say, that I know I already said the worst things, but one thing I would say is that I think it could work a little bit more in awareness of, say, for example, so they do a lot of things for like Black Lives Matter, and they do a lot of things for, I don't know, they don't do that many things for Latin American community, but they do a lot of things for other communities. But I guess they do it in a very like tick marking sort of way.
Oh, just to say they've done it.
Yeah. So they don't really immerse themselves as much. I think they're working on it, but I think this is something that can be pushed a lot more. Yeah, I lived in Purbeck House. Well, I was fortunate that I was living in the block that had just been remodeled, because I heard, and I actually went to the other block that hadn't been remodeled yet, and it wasn't great. I think they've both been remodeled, but I think it was all right. I think life should have been a bit better, to be honest, because they did a few events, but it wasn't like, sometimes you would go to an event, and if it was a festivity, say Halloween or Christmas thing, then there'll be quite a few people. But if it wasn't like that sort of festivity, it wasn't as organized. So there was like no beginning, middle, and end. It was just kind of like, oh, we're going to do this randomly. And so not many people would go. I'm not sure if it's changed, but the accommodation itself was actually not bad, as in how it looked, and say the kitchen was quite new. Obviously, I mentioned it had just been remodeled, so it looked quite nice.
What kind of vibe was Purbeck?
Purbeck was, because I remember the differences with the different accommodations. I think Purbeck there was a lot of partying and stuff like that. But I guess the fun thing about it is that because we were 2 blocks, sometimes there'd be like, I would have friends in the other block, and I would communicate with them with lights, because you can see it on the other side. And then that kind of creates like a
community.
But at the same time, I think, say, for example, the windows are tiny. They're really, really tiny. So if you want an accommodation that gives you that sort of like air when you look out the window or anything like that. It's, I mean,
Not the one.
it's not the one. I've been in other accommodation. Like last year, I was in Oxford Point, and that has bigger windows. That has, I guess, it is private accommodation, but at the same time, I guess the dynamic was a bit more open. Purbeck is very much first year noisy, but I don't mind. I don't mind it. But you know, first years they're gonna go out, they're gonna do all of that, so it has that vibe. Oxford Point, you still get that vibe, but you also get a vibe that's more like, if you do want to stay at home and or you want to go to the lounge and have events and stuff like that, you can do that a bit more comfortably. Yeah. Second year, I lived in Ensbury Park. It's really far away from everyone. Yeah, I lived in a house.
And what was it like going from Purbeck to a house?
Well, it was quite different because Purbeck is very central. It's in town. It's in Bournemouth Town. Well, it's in Lansdowne, not Bournemouth Town Centre. It's in Lansdowne, but it's like a 10-minute walk from the beach or a 10-minute walk from town centre. However, Ensbury Park is it's like 10-minute walk to university, just past the park. And it was very easy for me to go into university. It was very easy for me to go to my training sessions because I used to be in the varsity football team. So it was very easy for me to get there because it was Wallisdown. As opposed to when I had training and I used to live in Purbeck, I had to wake up at like 6 a.m. to get the one or the first bus that would go there, and it wasn't a university bus because it was quite early. So that was quite nice that I was able to just grab my bike, and 5 minutes I was already in my training. However, when it came to the social part, because we didn't even live in Winton, which is where other students live, like second year students live or final year students live, because it was even further away from it, we didn't come to town very much. We didn't have as much of a social part there. So we would actually host things at ours, like small gatherings and stuff like that. And I was living with two other girls that one of them I met in my accommodation actually from first year. And the other one was a friend from the other girl that I lived with in the accommodation in first year. So actually living in accommodation first year, as in like a student accommodation and a whole student building, it really helps with actually solidifying a few friendships, or at least getting to know people that you could potentially live with for second year. Because most people, I don't know, it has changed a little bit nowadays that because there's private accommodations that don't require you to be a first year. Now a lot of people have actually turned into going to these accommodations because it prevents a lot of hassle of, for example, like you don't have to worry about your bills. You don't have to worry about a lot of other things that like maintenance, a lot of other things that you have to worry. And you're very, very close to the beach and very close to town centre. So now you have a bit more of a choice after first year. Spend my quarantine in Oxford Point. So it was nice because they kind of, well, at the time I was recovering all of that, and the people at reception were very helpful with, like, if I had any pulse or anything like that, they would bring it up to me. And I mean, I don't think this is something they do for everyone, but the fact that they helped me out because I was recovering and all of that is quite nice. And then I saw that they're interested in the person, not just like a number. And I saw it with other people in my accommodation. Like when I talked about who's gonna come in and live with me or anything like that, they were kind of more, oh, this person's really nice, they do this, they do that. And it shows that they do really care about the person. And I think it translates into how they care. So like, for example, if you have something that's not working and you go to them, they will make sure and they will try their best to help you out, which is something that I didn't see as much in Purbeck, because I guess in Purbeck it was more, it is a lot of people, but it was less about the person. It was more about the events. It was more about going out and creating events for you to socialize, whereas Oxford Point is more about thinking about the individual as well. I am living right behind Oxford Point, and it's called the Helm. They're not student accommodation, but it looks very much like a student accommodation. Like, it has, on the 14th floor, it has amenities. So a place where there's like a lounge area, there's actually a terrace with like some bean bags and stuff like that. And then in the lounge area, you have a couple of TVs with YouTube, Netflix, all of that. And then you also have a pool table. You have toilets which is amazing because in all these other accommodations, when you have the lounge area, you have to actually go to someone else's room to use the toilet. Whereas in this one, you don't have to do that. And they also have like a little space that is almost like a kitchen in the lounge area, and then a fridge. And then it also has a gym, and it's a proper gym, which is amazing. And the gym is, because I've seen other accommodations that have the gym in the basement. I mean, it's a bit like, but like you can't breathe.
Good. Mm-hmm.
But in this one, you even have a view. So, and you have all the different machines that you would need, weights, and even like a punching bag and everything. So it's quite, I really like it. I really like the accommodation that I'm living in. But it's, even though there's quite a few students, and it actually allows pets as well. Even though it's got some students, it's a bit more for people who wouldn't be going out every night and wouldn't be, if you want something a bit calmer, I would recommend the Helm. Yeah. I think it's very subjective depending on which stage you're at. If you're a first year, I think what I've seen, Bailey Point, one of the new ones. Second year, I would say either a house, if you can find good housemates, definitely, in Winton, a house in Winton, or Oxford Point would be really good as well. Final year, I would say you can use Oxford Point because there's actually a few master students in Oxford Point as well. Or I don't know if I can recommend this one where I'm at because it's a bit separate to student accommodation. So you can Helm or also a house in Winton. Well, this is a student town, so you have everything you need for student life. So there's a whole strip. If you go down the road from the Lansdowne roundabout, you go down, there's a main road that if you walk from there to the beach, all you see is either pubs, restaurants, you have the clubs there. There's so many options, and there's a lot of variety as well. So you have some that are like Sharkies, for example, American pool. You can watch games in a big screen. You can play ping pong, and then you have other ones that are a bit more pubs, like I don't know, George Tabs, or even other ones that are a bit of a different vibe, like Revs. But it's all right next to each other. You have barbers, you have restaurants, and then you have the beach, which is a very, very, very important part. And I think it's something that really brings it a bit of fresh air to your student life, because if you ever feel like you need inspiration or you need to just take a moment for yourself, you can go to the beach, and it really kind of, all personally, and I think I've talked to other people and they've said this as well, it helps you kind of refresh your mind and kind of reboot if that's what you need. And it definitely also creates a lot of social activities to have the beach next to you. General advice is look at the resources the university has, because it does have a lot of resources that you have to actively research to actually find. So say, for example, this program that I did, the Global Talent Program, it's now being promoted a lot more. But when I was in first year, I didn't know about it. And I only found out about it last year. And it actually helps a lot because you get a lot of workshops and events that are around different topics, whether it's marketing, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's to actually network. They also have Careers Week, and they have support around it. So, and they also, in order to get your certificate, you have to be well-rounded. So it encourages to learn other languages. It encourages to do courses or little courses on how to time manage, how to do presentations, how to write in different ways. To be able to get that certificate, you have to have these badges. And you have to go to these workshops, where in these workshops they have industry professionals in different sectors that you can, after they talk, you can stay back and talk to them and start networking. And I found out that has helped me a lot now that I'm doing my own business. I've actually been utilizing those contacts. But this is something that you're not going to find out through your course. You have to actually actively search for it, but it's there. So I guess if you come into Bournemouth University, look at the different helps they have, and go to a careers advisor or whoever you think could help you. Because even, for example, even if it's not in anywhere near your course, say for example you're doing design and you need some advice or some help from someone who's in law or someone who's in animation, the professors are willing to help you out, well, to an extent, but they're willing to help you out and just have a conversation if you think it can help your course. The actual study part, would be, well, there's a couple of libraries, so use the libraries. There's ebooks as well. There's a lot of resources you can get. There's languages at BU as well, which is conversation clubs, and they also have resources that you can get through the website. The actual study, I would say, enjoy it. Like, honestly, and I know first year, I know it doesn't count in a way, but in order to do well in your second and third year, you need the foundations. So if you don't pay attention to your foundations when you go into your next years, it's going to be a bit more difficult for you, or you actually would be spending time learning your foundations instead of actually taking advantage of complementing your second and third year. And in second year, you would think that, well, if you haven't paid attention in first year, in second year, you're not just doing second year. If you're going to do placement, it's almost like as if you're in final year, because in second year, you're doing interviews, you're doing applications, you do your portfolio for your placement. And then in final year, you're doing the same thing, but for a graduate job, right? So if you don't make the most out of your first year, then the other years are not going to be as fruitful, I guess. Well, my course is changing. This is the next year is the last year of industrial design at university, at Bournemouth University, and they've changed it to product design with options. So the option that would be related, or that would be replacing industrial design, is corporate design for futures. One thing that I've liked, because I've seen the curriculum, or at least the general part of the curriculum, is that they've incorporated the fact that you can use the workshops, and they incorporated a lot of things that we've said as industrial designers we could have done well with if we had these different aspects that product design has. So now they've done that. So this is something that I guess it encourages me to recommend it even more. But I won't be able to say exactly, because of the fact that the course is changing. I can't guarantee, I can't know exactly if these changes that we've asked for in the feedback are going to be done to the extent that we've asked for. However, it is promising to see that they have listened to the students and done the changes. So I guess in terms of that, I say it's a good move by the university. Yeah. So if you're doing product design, for the fact that now you get to choose, then it leaves a bit more room for you to be independent about what you want to do. Well, I grew up in different places, but I've always gone to international schools that were, all the schools were somewhat British. So I guess I have a bit of a bias towards that. But at the same time, the last relocation for my dad's job, because I always say I was part of my dad's suitcase, really, because I would just move around depending on where he went. So his last move was, it was 2012, and we ended up in London. Because I graduated school in London, I saw that I wanted to do something in the UK. However, I actually went to university in America for a year before going to the UK. I went to Savannah College of Arts and Design, also to do industrial design, but I also went to play football for the university then. However, my family was here, and I kind of really like the cultural aspect, how diverse the UK, and how it really looks at the individual and what the value the people, the mentality in the UK that I've seen and compared to other places, is that they give value to the individual and the things that the individual brings, more so than maybe your social status, your financial status, and all these things, because it gives opportunities to people. So I saw opportunities, I saw diversity, I saw quite a bit of respect. I mean, granted, there's a lot that can be worked on, but I saw those things that I said, I want to be around these type of communities. So I came back to the UK and I restarted my industrial design educational career, I guess. And I decided to go to Bournemouth University because it had a good name for my course, but it also had a good football team, and it's a beautiful place. Yeah, so Meixter is one-to-one live tutoring platform, and it's app-based and web-based. So you're going to have an iOS and Android, and because it is on those, you can also have it on iPads or any device, really. There's going to be a website. It's going to be a website on its own, so it won't be like the app and you just click on it and everything. It's going to be like an actual website, and The idea behind it is that we want to encourage people, and university students actually are one of our main audiences for the app. And what we want to encourage is the learning outside your degree, because this is something, if you go into employers nowadays, it's great to have a degree, but you have many people with the same degree. So they also want you to have something separate, something different, whether it's extracurriculars, whether it's volunteering, whatever it is. And a lot of these courses also need you to have complementary skills to the course, and skills that can be transferable to your career. So what we want to do with Meixter is to allow the accessibility of a one-to-one that normally could cost quite a bit, or well, depending, because obviously in Meixter you can actually give your own price, whatever you want to charge. But what we want to create is the ability for these students, because university students, when they go into university, they have to know a little bit of something in the course, right, to actually be able to get into the course. So these students can utilize it to teach something in the platform, and when you teach something, you get a virtual credit that actually it is actual money. So it's $1 to one coin. We did it as a dollar because it is going to be a global platform, so it's the best currency to kind of help other people do the exchange to one coin. So you get this coin when you teach, not one coin, whatever it is that you're charging. You get that. You can either take it out as actual money, or you can reutilize it and I guess make it an investment to your learning. So you reutilize it and you pay for someone else to teach you something else, right? So the idea is that you can come in as a student and pay for your lesson, and that's it. You can come in and give a lesson and you get your money, or you can come in as a student, as a teacher, you give your lesson, you get your money back, and then you utilize that to learn something else. Because it is a single user platform, you can do any of the roles with the same sign up. And at the same time, with any interaction that happens, whether you're a student or a teacher, it would create. So we've incorporated gamification elements as well. So what it means is that you have things that are almost game-like to help with the service, with the quality and everything. So after your interactions, you rate each other and you choose different things, and then some gems come up after a certain ratings have happened. So if you do really well as a teacher, you can say that as a student, you can say that that teacher has been professional, has been knowledgeable, has had charisma. And then after a few of these with your ratings, it lights up these gems in your profile. But with that same game-like qualities, we decided to create an environmental aspect where with every interaction, there'll be a tree that'll be growing and it animates. And as the tree finishes growing, we have partnered with Eden Reforestation Projects, and automatically we as a company donate to plant trees in real life. And what's really nice about this partnership is that it's not just about, in itself, planting trees and all of that is great, but it's also an organization that is helping communities around where these trees are planted, is hiring people, is helping with it around it.
Building jobs and everything.
Sorry?
So building jobs and everything.
Exactly. So you can really see the impact in what you're doing. So the idea of Meixter, and it's not just an idea because you can actually see the prototype now. So you can go to, at the moment, we're doing a crowdfunding campaign, but then afterwards we're going to do other things. And at the end of January, the idea is to launch the app end of January, beginning of February, the app and the web. So the web, these are the times. Obviously, sometimes there are some delays on the coding part because we have already started coding. We're already quite well on the way. This is something that I have a business partner, and between us, we split ourselves with all the different aspects. So one day, that's what's great about being an entrepreneur as well and doing these things. It is very time consuming, and you have to really put yourself in it and really make sure that what you're doing is something that you believe in, that you put your values in it, because this is something that's going to be a long-term thing. It doesn't just happen overnight. You have to really work at it. So one day we're doing marketing, another day we're talking to sound engineers, because we have our own soundtrack as well that we're going to incorporate. So let me explain really quickly how it works. You go into the app, right? You've downloaded your app. You go into the app and you see the home, and our home is the learning part. So you see video pitches and you scroll down different video pitches. What is the video pitch? It's a 30 to 60 second video of a teacher showing their skill, because we don't require people, teachers, to give a certificate. If you do have it, it's amazing and you can put it there and you can prove it. But what we want is to give value to those people as well that haven't been to university or haven't finished their university yet, but have a lot of skills in different things that they have learned through the years or through earlier education. For example, if you're an art student, you might be really, really good at fine art. Or actually, you don't have to be an art student, but if you're at a stage that you might not have your diploma yet, but you are so good that you can actually teach. And how you can prove this is that you can start your video pitch with a blank canvas and then fast forward so that at the end of your video pitch, 60 seconds later, you have a finished painting. That shows that you have the ability to do it. You're scrolling through these video pitches that your teacher has created, and it's going to be different ways of presenting yourself, right? So that requires creativity from the teacher's point of view as well. And when the teacher is creating this video pitch, they upload the video, they add the tags so that these can be filtered afterwards by the student who's who's trying to search for what they want to study. And they also do a little description, and that's it. I mean, it's very quick creation of the video pitch. And then they put their availability. That's all they have to do as a teacher. And then our job is to find you students, right? So you just leave it to us and we find you students. And the student comes in and scrolls down, or they can search at the top for the specific thing they want. And because it is a system of hashtags, it will filter exactly what they're looking for. And then you can follow people, or you can also follow hashtags. And these are going to then go into your following part. So there's a following tab at the top. And that would be, if you scroll down through that following tab, it would be video pictures of the things that you followed or the people you followed. And then it's very simple. If you really like something you see, then you click on the coins section. I go like this because that's how it looks. You click on the coin section at the bottom, and you can either see 30 or 60 minutes, depending on what's available. So you can choose one or the other lesson that you want to take. You tap on the coins and there will be a pop-up, and with 4 tabs, that's all you have to do to actually book your lesson. You choose date, you choose your time, and you choose your payment method, and then that's it. And we'll give you reminders, both as a teacher and as a student. We'll send reminders so you can come into the platform to have your lesson or to give your lesson. So everything around learning and teaching is done within the platform, from booking, from showing your skill that you're going to teach, from having the interaction. We host the interaction. We have our own. So in the app, you just access your lesson and it will be everything in the app. Afterwards, you do your rating. So everything is in the platform afterwards to then be able to see the recommendations other people have left. So you can see what the people have said about the teacher that you potentially going to have your lesson with. And then after that, all the payment method is done through us as well. The tree growing all through us. And at the same time afterwards, as a teacher, you get statistics. You get statistics on the demographic that you're teaching. You get statistics on how well your video pitch is doing, the people who are seeing it versus the people who are actually tapping on your lesson. You also get statistics on your earnings, and you get to see charts on like filtering with 7 days or 30 days and stuff like that. So it actually allows you to have more independence on your teaching. And it also gives you a log so that you can filter depending on the student that you want to teach or you want to see. It will filter all the lessons that you had with that student. And you can put little notes as well on the side that will give you information for your next lesson, or give you information about what the lesson will be or has been. So, yeah.
So sounds pretty good. So can you remind the students when they can expect to see this app be dropped onto the App Store and or Google Store, Play Store?
Yeah, so it will be dropped at the end of January, beginning of February. So that's our forecasted time. And this is something that we're really, really working towards. And yeah, you can go to Meixter app. So it's at Meixter app, MEIXTERAPP. That's our Instagram. And that's also our LinkedIn. And we have www.meixter.com. And we also have Facebook. That one's called Meixter. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'm plugged in.
Amazing. Thank you.